All right, let's move on to the Eagles, Colin. They've won 4 straight. A lot of the credit goes to Saquon Barkley. He had a $159 last week against the bad Jags defense. Now he heads to Dallas, and we know they can't stop the run. Dallas, however, is hoping Micah Parsons returns to practice this week. In the meantime, he spoke highly of his former Penn State teammate.
For Saquon, this is a blessing in disguise, just off the strength of people are seeing what you're capable of when people appreciate you. The Giants did not appreciate him. And now the rest of the league is facing the consequences of the Giants' stupidity. I mean, what more can you say? The guy's been dynamic. He's been worth the money and more.
Yeah, it is amazing that you would let your best employee go to your rival. It's remarkable to me. You think these organizations are well run? You know, they're got smart people, and it just would never let that. I mean, would you let Chris Jones in his prime go to the Chargers if you're the Chiefs?
Do you remember the conversation we had about how running backs, there was so much pushback. Don't draft running backs. Yeah. Don't pay. And we were like, wait a minute. You got half the league and tight ends are making more money than Saquon Barkley. Okay, that is definitely a mistake.
Okay, so when the media, and they're prone to do this, this is what the media does with athletes. They want to get them all the bag. So when the media overreacted to the scarcity of running back contracts, on this show, I said, what are you talking about? Guards haven't made money forever. You know, off-ball linebackers don't make any money. Safeties don't make any money. Tight end, Shannon Sharp, Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, they're all underpaid. My whole life, tight ends. And there was this whole thing about running backs. And I said, take a deep breath. They still have value. Look at what has happened since the media overreacted. Derrick Henry not only got paid, but Derrick Henry has become the centerpiece of the AFC's best team, arguably. J.K. Dobbins, Harbaugh, J.K. Dobbins, Herbert, that's the story. And Saquon Barkley is I would put him third in the MVP voting. The media overreacts whenever players don't get paid. There's an overreaction. Running backs will always have value in this league. Now, there are things that are cyclical. NBA small ball centers. Running backs have value because running backs ultimately make the job of your star quarterback easier. I mean, let's be honest. When Pacheco comes back for Kansas City, even with Kareem Hunt playing well, it's more protective of Mahomes going to have a star running back that can peel off a 40-yarder at any time.
Remember the Bears I had to look this up, Montgomery, their running back, they had him, and they were like, we're going to move off him. He goes to the Lions behind a good offensive line, 13 touchdowns last year. They have an amazing ground game with him and Gibbs. Like, you can't make blanket statements like people are saying, don't pay running backs. That does not apply. Saquon, we mentioned it, was going to have a Christian McCaffrey-type impact on the Eagles. McCaffrey was huge going from the Panthers to the Niners. I think Saquon's been similar to that for the Eagles. He's been right there with Derrick Henry in terms of numbers this year, in terms of impressiveness.
I mean, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley are the two most talked about players in the league that aren't quarterbacks. And it was a year ago, the media was just lamenting the future of running backs. Yeah. It's like, guys, they're okay. They're all good. They've had Jonathan Taylor of Indianapolis. They've always had. I mean, look at the Texans. When Joe Mixon plays, they win. When he doesn't, they lose.
That's a good
They've
point,
always had value.
Okay, let's talk about this. First off, I know J-Mac has actually praised the Philadelphia Eagles and thinks that they could win the Super Bowl, but when he now makes a comment, Saquon Barkley played really good against the bad defense Jags. They had the 9th best run defense. They were giving up on average 111 yards, and Saquon put up 159 himself, right? And 3 receptions for 40. The total run game was 239. So don't just put that on a bad Jags defense. I mean, put some respect on Saquon Barkley. My God, on a bad defense. Like, why even make that statement? That's, no. But now, with what Colin just said, Saquon Barkley, top 3 MVP. I mean, that should be the story right there. My God, breaking news. Saquon Barkley, MVP conversation. I mean, that's pretty big. I mean, I can't believe that's going so under discussed, and because a lot of people are talking about Derrick Henry being the MVP. The Eagles have a better record, right? The Eagles have a better record. Saquon has arguably been more impactful and important to the Philadelphia Eagles helped sustain the team, helped steady the team even during injuries, right? Like he's done more than, say, Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens. So, that conversation needs to be fleshed out more, man. Like everything Saquon Barkley has been doing has been extraordinary. And he has the highlight, moments, the highlight runs, and obviously, reverse hurdles or whatever the heck we're calling it. But yeah, I mean, obviously everything Micah's saying is obvious and correct, right? I mean, it can't be that much of a hot take to see what Saquon Barkley is doing and how dumb it was for the Giants to ever let that go and for not every other team to get after it. And it is so funny because when the Eagles went out and got Saquon Barkley, I remember like Dan Graziano, a handful of other people were like, Saquon's washed, like, what did he do in New York? He had one good year. And, typically when you pay running backs this amount of money, it doesn't go well for them. And it's just like, it just goes to show you, man, there's a lot of opinions out there that are just nonsense. Like, if you wanted to craft a good argument as to why it was a bad move, then you could do that, right? You could do that. You could say, listen, I think Saquon is actually a little overrated at this point, and because of the amount of money, I think the Eagles would have been better served using that money to boost up their pass rush, like whatever it may be, right? Like you could technically make those arguments. I mean, I would disagree with them, but you could make those arguments. But to just be like, oh well, he didn't play real great with the New York Giants. Oh, you mean that terrible team for like a decade? Right, that has the worst offensive line. Oh, he didn't do good as a running back there. Daniel Jones as his quarterback, no passing game, so it all was on the run game. He didn't survive there. Oh, really? Okay, sure. The Eagles are going to overpay because Howie Roseman, one of the best GMs in the NFL, is known for just making bad deals now. Like you're not going to trust him. You're gonna trust the Giants GM. You're going to trust that they're giving him up because they know something, and not Howie Roseman, not the Philadelphia Eagles GM who's made moves after move after move, has built multiple completely different Super Bowl rosters with completely different quarterbacks and different weapons and cast of characters, which is remarkable, absolutely remarkable, with different coaches and everything. You weren't going to give the benefit of the doubt to that team, to the Philadelphia Eagles? It's just the fact that got so much. The fact that it was controversial is mind-blowing to me, right? And when we said that Saquon Barkley was going to have a Christian McCaffrey-like impact, you had so many people rip that, right? Obviously, I did the whole take about Nick Wright doing that, but he wasn't the only one, right? There was plenty of people all over the media, fans laughing. Saquon Barkley's not that good. He's washed, this, that. And it's like, you got to be careful with your opinions, man. You can be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. But if you're forming an opinion, at least make it make sense. There has to be some logic to it. Because then if you have logic to it, you can then look at how you got there to the conclusion, and you can see, is my logic flawed? I say this to my best friend all the time, who's the smartest person I know and one of the smartest people, honestly, out there. And I'll always, if I reach a conclusion of anything, not sports related, just, life stuff, I'll be like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, is my logic wrong here? Like, am I thinking about this correctly? That's how I look at things. That's how I attack things. I don't just be like, well, this is my conclusion and this is what it is. It's how did I arrive at this conclusion? And again, even if I use great sound logic that I agree with, I can still be wrong, right? The outcome could still be wrong. You can do all the right things and it still be wrong. That's just life, man, right? I mean that's just life. But at least when you have sound logic, you can now dissect the logic. And it never made sense that Saquon Barkley wasn't going to be great for the Philadelphia Eagles. It never made any sense. None. So I love this reckoning. I love that everyone around the league now is just like, man, Saquon, right? Like, obviously, he's even underpaid, right? Like, you would pay double for what Saquon is doing for the Philadelphia Eagles, for any team for that matter. You would pay double. You would pay him if you said, hey, do you want a player like this? $20 million. He's gonna ball out. He's gonna put up 200 yards a game, total yards. right? Be a workhorse, be able to do whatever you need him to do, right? Be a great leader, sell jerseys as well, right? Be wildly popular. Would you do that? Every single team would do that. Every single team. Let me say it one more time. Every single team would do that. It is the best money you could spend. And I mean, and for the amount of money that they are spending for him, right? Derrick Henry and Saquon, it was like 10, 11, 12, 13 million dollars a year. It's I mean, it's the best deal in football. The absolute best. There's wide receivers that are making more than that are doing nothing. Did Brandon Ayuk have this impact before he got injured? Did he have the same impact that Saquon Barkley is having right now, or Derrick Henry for that matter? Absolutely, undeniably, no. No, not even close. You got quarterbacks that are getting paid more money than Saquon and not having Saquon Barkley impact on him. The New York Giants. Crazy, man. We live in a crazy world sometimes. We really, really do. Micah speaking the truth. You know, don't hate the messenger, especially when the message is true. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about how Saquon Barkley has fit in with the Philadelphia Eagles? The fact that he is an MVP candidate? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.